Irapali Prasana, Gigi Boy and Wadeka, Krishna Murthy and Vishnu Mankan. Them boys could well play cricket on any kind of wicket. They make the West Indies team look so bad. We was in all kind of trouble. Joey Carew pull a muscle. Clive Lloyd get about 3 run out. We was in trouble without a doubt. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Venkataraghavan, Bedi in a turban, Vijay Jaishima, Jayantilal. They helped to win the series against the West Indies at Sabina Park and Queen's Park Oval. 158 by Kanai really sent our hopes up high. Noriega 9 for 95, the Indian team they still survive. It was Gavaskar, the real master, just like a wall. We couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Janjurani, Solka Abidali, Dilip Sadesai and Vishwanath. They make West Indies bowlers look like second raters when those fellows came out here to bat. West Indies tried holder and keep voice. They had no other choice. They even tried with Newton Dow, but a shot at the sorry they bring him now. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. Desmond Lewis, also Charlie Davis, they take a little shame from out we face. But Sobers as a captain, he won plenty coaching before we cricket end up in a disgrace. Beatty here that he became a father, he catch out whole first in the cover. But when Sobers here, he too had a son, he made duck and went back in the pavilion. It was Gavaskar, the real master. Just like a wall, we couldn't out Gavaskar at all, not at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all. You know the West Indies couldn't out Gavaskar at all.
Woo. And we say pleasant good afternoon from the street 91.9 FM. I'm Selvon Mitchell at the keys this evening. Voice on the mic. First, I'd like to say thanks to the Creator, thanks to the energies, thanks to the force, thanks to Mother Nature, the earth, the energies that give us life, give us strength, and have us here on this earth to communicate, to converse. We say thanks. We appreciate sustenance of life, sun, moon, stars, lights. All that is required to keep this human heart beating on this earth. I say good afternoon, good night, good morning to our listeners, those in Europe, those in Asia, those in Africa, those in Australia. The Street 919 FM is online on YouTube, Facebook. Once you're on that airwave called the internet, we can be accessed from anywhere in the world at any time. So we must reach out to those who listen quietly, observe, and pay copious attention to the conversation and the discourse that takes place on the Third Empire. I'm here this evening, as I said, Salvon Mitchell. My other colleagues will join us in two shakes. First, I have a meaningful discussion on the match that is taking place. We have the two teams in the wicket. We have one, the yellow team is batting. We have the red team is bowling. And we'll give a determination on how that performance is going. If the people in the pavilion is really getting a match that is worthy of watching, worthy of participating in, worthy of coming, leaving your homes and coming and being a part of. The numbers today, the pavilion, of course, you can call in, join us. 342-0081, 466-5391. I say it one more time. 342-0081, 466-5391. You can join us anytime. Call. Let's have a conversation. What's going on in the pavilion? How the pavilion is viewing the match. I know some people recently been having the conversation. One that says, 1 year have gone, how you feel? How do you rate the performance of the people out on the field, be it the batsmen or the bowlers? How do you rate their performance? Are you impressed? Are they wanting? Who is wanting? The bowlers, the batsmen? Are you satisfied with the change in the field and how the game is going? Are you satisfied? And if you're not, what are you not satisfied with? If you're satisfied, what are you satisfied with? Opinions, and you all could come on and you know something I learned once. Someone say, if a blind man describe an elephant, all would give a different perception of what they experience touching the elephant. Who touched the side will say elephant is a wall. Who touched the tail, an elephant is a rope. Who touched the trunk, they will say the elephant is a hose. Who touched the legs, they will say the elephant is a trunk. So is which part of the elephant you experience, that is the description you will give the elephant. And so in life, in government, you will have in any system, if you're the beneficiary, you'll have little or none to say negative about the model that is bringing benefits to you. But if you're not a beneficiary, definitely you would have something else to say of the same thing, of the same people. So you always have yin and yang. So difficult to say they're good or who good, because there's who benefiting say it good and who not benefiting will say it not good. That's life, right? But on the overall, that's why the measurements of success in terms of governance is an overall number. We look at an overall satisfaction level, because if we pave all the roads in Port of Spain and we didn't pave the road in Shoguanas, the people in Shoguanas will say the government are good, they care about them. And the people in Portsmouth say the government is a real good government, they pave our road and so forth. So we had to get some matrix on how we measure satisfaction in terms of delivery of goods and services on a broad base. Yeah? So those are some of the measurements that the people have to put in place in terms of how you measure the performance of the players out in the field. Be the bowlers. Is the bowlers really bowling in a strategic way to put some of the runners out? How they bowling? How they feeling? Are they catching balls and so forth? Or are they limpering along and dropping catches and so on? The batsmen just running away with the game. So the analysis, there must be no, as you know, some people say paralysis in the analysis. It must be in terms of how the overall economy grow and thrives. I play some, in my quiet time. I wasn't here for a few days, but I still had time to just put together some articles. Normally the articles I put together, I have them on LinkedIn. Who know LinkedIn will and follow me on LinkedIn will see I play something on LinkedIn. And I figured out how to put it on Facebook now. Facebook have a feed. So I put it on Facebook now, the feed on Facebook. And I did something on the a comparative analysis of the World Bank. I saw the batsmen sign some agreement with the World Bank, who follow the newspapers and the news and so forth would have seen something about that. And who would have, people who listen this program would have heard me in the past. I spoke about the Afri-Exim Bank and the adoption of the Afri-Exim Bank in 13 Caribbean island, Suriname, I think Brazil also adopted and signed the partnership agreement with the Afri-Exim Bank. Only Trinidad and Tobago have not signed the partnership agreement with the Afri-Exim Bank. And you know what's interesting? The terms and conditions that the Afri-Exim Bank asks for in terms of what we call a partnership agreement, similar to the World Bank, is much less demanding than what we signed with the World Bank. So I did a sort of comparative analysis as to the benefit, the pros and cons. I mean, you can only write so much for people to read. It wasn't a book I write, or some thesis I'm doing and so forth. So I did that sort of comparative analysis. I placed it on LinkedIn. I placed it on Facebook, I think, to show where and how we benefit from both agencies and so forth, and how both agencies have a particular role that they can play in shifting the paradigm, the economic paradigm of the people and the industries in Trinidad. I don't know why the government haven't signed it. I don't know why the last administration did not sign it. Not the 1 month administration, I'm talking about the 9 years administration. I know they mentioned something about some taxing, but if you look at what was signed, read the World Bank, their demands was, Lord, they come like they have an embassy down here. The things that they wanted in terms of tax concession and this holiday and all of that, and it was signed as the case may be. I think one thing the 9-year administration mentioned was that, they want, if they have workers in the country, they don't want to pay taxes for them, and that was a big issue. The World Bank wanted much, much more than that in this dispensation now, and it was signed. Lo and behold, the Afri-Exim Bank have no intention, really, in the foreseeable future of setting up any office in Trinidad, any physical office. Their headquarters is presently in Barbados. They will be building the administrative center in Barbados to service the CARICOM region and Suriname, Belize. So although in the partnership agreement that the Afri-Exim Bank had sent to the 9-year administration, it is a general document that all of them really perused and signed off on, as the case may be. I don't know why I know this administration now have invited the executive of the Afrexim Bank to Trinidad last year, Emancipation. They came down, they met with the Prime Minister, and one or two of the executive. Then they were the invited guests, especially invited guests at the Emancipation ceremony with the Prime Minister. So I thought by now we would have advanced the signing of the partnership agreement, being us, Trinidad, the last Caribbean island the only Caribbean island who have not signed the partnership agreement with the Afrexim Bank to allow that free trade, I will get into that just now, to take place. I don't know why, I don't know why is the delay, I don't know where is the issue. If there's an issue, I'm probably right about it. But I did a comparative analysis to show that, yes, I don't have no problem with the government signing up with the World Bank and establishing those arrangements. But parallel to that, I see no reason why the Afrexim Bank cannot be part of that arrangement with the government to be the final or the last Caribbean island to establish a relationship with the Afrexim Bank. Now, the Afrexim Bank do not. It's not that, I want to put it simpler or simplify this conversation, that you have to borrow from them. You don't have to do anything. They're there and they are recognized, come like a recognition certificate the bank will be getting, just like the World Bank. But it allows for a deeper relationship. If people look at my article on LinkedIn relative to the analysis between World Bank and Afrexim Bank, the Afrexim Bank lends for where we as a country can pivot and really expand trade. I was looking at a number of research that I see we do to Africa. We do over $200 million in trade with Africa in general. I had to confirm that figure. But where the Afrexim Bank allows for the average business, let's say, 5 million, 10 million, to borrow money for their manufacturing facility, for their tourism type project, be it hospital, be it hotel, be it port projects, allows for, be it agriculture sector, where those are some of the areas that they focus on in terms of lending to the private sector. Governments can also borrow. Bahamas government borrowed money from them. I know one or two other governments that would have borrowed money for projects that would have done, but that doesn't limit the government or take away anything from the government's flexibility of borrowing from who they please and who they want. But all I'm saying, if the government want to partner with CAF, World Bank, IDB and whoever, no, I have no problem with that, But do not limit the average fella from having an avenue to borrow and have that flexibility of doing trade in a larger scale because you have not signed a partnership agreement. That's all I'm saying. You sign it. We want to use the Afrexim Bank as a medium for financial access to expand our business. But more than that, Afrexim Bank doesn't only just lend you money. One, they give you access to markets. They work with you. I now sign up for one of the trade seminars that they have in terms of how we connect the partners in the Caribbean and other African countries in terms of trade, bilateral trade we call it. Yes? How we trade right now, I have to check my notes. It was 29 last time I looked at it. 29 African countries that actually trade in their own currency. They do not use the SWIFT system. I don't know if that is why nobody want to sign them up. I don't know. But they use their own currency to trade within Africa. They're also setting up something in the CARICOM region where we can trade with Africa using TT dollars. That is the level of innovation and creativity that we want in terms of pivoting our industrial and trade sector, right, to stabilize and grow this economy. We need to be innovative and creative, and the Afri-Exim Bank in this regard lends to that creativity and innovation and allows for access, 1, to finance, 2, to market, 3, for support, 4, for allowing you to trade, be it buy or sell, in your own currency to a large extent. So with these advantages, that flexibility exists. So the choice is yours now. I mean, well, look what's going on with the bank right now and the rates and so forth. So we must not corral our citizen to a little group that dominates and control and suck the living daylight out of people by just, well, you have no choice, you have to take it from me. There's an issue we had with TCL being the only provider of cement in Trinidad and wanted that monopoly status, and they want to block everybody from coming in and then raising the price. And one good move the administration make, they say, you can't be the only man providing cement, and every 6 months you're raising your price, but when somebody is going to come in, you're crying down the road. Waste of time. So the Afri-Exim Bank allowed that flexibility, allowed for the man who making the pepper sauce, send some pepper sauce to Africa, bring some cocoa from Ghana, and then you make some chocolate and export to Europe, Latin America, and the Americas and so forth. So allow for all of that to take place. Stimulating our free zones and so forth to allow businesses from up there to come and set up presence not only in Trinidad but in the CARICOM region and so forth. That is what the Afri-Exim Bank gives to an economy. They work with you. It's a trade bank, really and truly. World Bank really comes, and when you really read the article, it's not a long, lengthy thing I wrote. But read it and understand what I'm saying is that, yes, the World Bank have its role, they have its place, and they do what they do. I suppose they do it to the best of their ability, but there are other avenues that we the people, we the traders, we the manufacturers, we the distributors must not be stuck in a cycle where we have to go to the traditional banks in Trinidad and be suffocated by their policies and rhetoric, really and truly, that really takes us nowhere. Yeah? So I ask the government, really and truly, not the government, the administration today, that look with a kind eye and let's move forward with the Afri-Exim Bank. We have done the World Bank, we have done CAF. You all have borrowed a lot from CAF. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not complaining about that. But again, take the brakes off the Afri-Exim Bank and let it sign it up. Because their demands is way less than the World Bank. When I compare it, way less. But they add more value to the private sector growth and development. They do. So I know we have good people listening to this radio station. And I know my conversation will fall on good air. I'll be taken somewhere because the government started off in a good stead. As I said, they invited the executive of the bank down. The 90 administration never did that. They met with them, they hosted them and so forth, which means there were, I like to think there is, some real intention, positive intention to engage them. The delay, I don't understand the delay. Probably there's some logical reason for the delay. And probably somebody who not clear on the bank could ask me. I could invite the president down, Dr. George Olumbi, and let him come down and I suppose invite them to the radio station sometime, and discuss Afri-Exim Bank and what they're doing in the Caribbean region. In Africa, they are the PAPS system. It's a payment system that allows for that trading on using one currency. I think they establishing that with the central banks in the Caribbean. Some of the central banks, I know they're on that. I know Barbados and one other island already trade in their own currency and so forth already. So things are moving. I mean, in the past, last time I was here, I talked about CARICOM and the relevance of CARICOM and CARICOM, this talk shop. And, you know, some things I support the captain of the batting side on with these colonial thinkers in CARICOM. Go and they, I know, try to imitate the masters of old, really and truly, but at the end of the day, nothing is established, nothing is accomplished, really and truly. How come Africa, I mean, I don't really follow I listen to the CNN and so forth, but my research is not predicated on what is said on CNN or BBC because it is tainted to one side. So much positive development is taking place in Africa right now that is not mentioned in any media. No media mentions all the positive growth and development that is taking place that could really build morale in terms of hope for the CARICOM region. We see them fellas who were beaten down in the mud for so long could rise out of the abyss and be where they are today in terms of redefining their economic status. What is our problem in the CARICOM region? You know, and last time we talked about why it is cheaper to go New York than it is for me to leave Trinidad and go to Antigua. Why is that? What are we doing in CARICOM? Why it is we can't, within CARICOM, these little island with 100,000 and 200,000 people, I can use my ID card and go across. Why are we not operating as one as yet? Why we are these little demigods of little few 100,000 people and we feel we reach and so forth, when some of the islands could fit in a building in New York City. So CARICOM had to define itself. We have started they have started the trust. With the Afro-Exim Bank, they have signed on. I've looked at Grenada, some borrowing, Bahamas, some borrowing, some business in Suriname. I know there's a port going on in Suriname financed by the Afro-Exim Bank. So I know a number of projects are taking place quietly that are financed by the Afro-Exim Bank. And so, but it's really up to us in Trinidad, the executive, to see how we could position them to advance our trade and industry. We have ECOWA. ECOWA is that bloc in Africa that encompasses about 400 million persons. Just remember, people, Africa as a continent is 1.5 billion people. People don't talk about that. When they talk, largest thing is China. China. Africa is the largest, actually largest continent in the world, Africa. 1.5 billion person. The real traders fall under the block of ECOWA. That's 400 million people inside of there. We should be looking at what we can call some concessions in terms of duty-free access, like how we treat CARICOM and so forth. We should start treating or looking for agreements to start treating with Africa with some duty-free concessions and so forth, bilateral trade, duty-free concession, access to markets and so. Remember those other markets, Europe, America, Latin, most of them are saturated already. Everybody run to them, but there's a high demand for one, industrialization, mechanization, manufacturing, setting up agriculture. Although they have agriculture, there's still a great demand, room for improvement. Last time I was in Nigeria, they only had two soft drink. Well, soft drink, when I mean soft drink, I'm not talking the sweet drink that we call it, sweet drink and so forth. But in terms of juices and so forth, that was there. So there's a buoyant market for refreshing beverages. Let me put it that way, not alcohol. Refreshing beverages and so forth. There's a buoyant market for that. The agriculture sector is in terms of poultry, in terms of egg, in terms of beef. If we focus our attention on those markets, we cannot start producing enough, be it food, be it manufacturing of goods and services, to satisfy 5% of that market. I was talking the ECOWA market of 400 million people. we can satisfy that. And that is a pivoting point that the Afri-Exim Bank is bringing to the table. Hey, let's partner. Let me give you access to this market. Let us start to talk trade with each other and so forth. You don't look for the US, brother. You get in trade with your TT dollars, we'll convert it and so forth, and you shall sell in Africa, and you sell in Trinidad and Tobago, as the case may be. Now, it doesn't limit us from selling other markets, you know. Other markets still exist. You go and explore the market, but I'm looking at the opportunity that presents itself right now on the table to explore new frontier in terms of trade and distribution. And we should be doing that really and truly to a large extent. We should be. The innovators in Trinidad should be doing that. I know Lake Asphalt have started. They have shipped one container. I know it went to Nigeria earlier this year. So at least Lake Asphalt is starting to break some ground in exposing their products to the African continent in terms of their TLA, what we call the modifiers that they produce, that China buys a lot of. They have started export. They have exported one container that I'm aware of to Africa. So they're starting to break that glass ceiling. But picture this. Had Africa been able to trade with Trinidad in the naira or shilling, as the case may be, what the possibility of that trade would look like in their buying products that we have in Trinidad. If you look at where, I just deal with Nigeria for now. Industrialization is heading in Nigeria and access to areas, be the Port Harcourt and those areas, and where they're looking to create what I call a model of the Point Lisas industrial estate. Access is critical. And who have one of the best modifiers in the world to sell, to create access, road access in that developing country is Trinidad, Lake Asphalt. So Lake Asphalt alone, their production, I sure we can do about 60 to 70% of their production could just go to one of the partners in the ECOWA group in terms of the infrastructure development work that is taking place to create access because of the level of industrialization that is the focal point that they're doing up there. So they may get their bitumen and so forth from Iraq. Dangote may produce some with his thing, but again, what we have in Trinidad is second to none in terms of the world best modifiers. It's a modifier that we produce here, that the major runways, when you land on it, you have to say, it's Trinidad I'm landing on, because be it Kennedy, JFK, and these major airports out in US and in China, the largest bridge in China was paved with modifier from Trinidad. So we have a great exportable product in Trinidad. That is one industry I'm looking at here, people. One industry I'm looking at. That we have already started some penetration, but I said if we really open up that window through the Afri-Exim Bank, whoa, what a marvelous day it would be in terms of the expansion of trade and trade opportunities. The Afri-Exim Bank is supposed to be having its conference in St. Kitts, I think is in June. I must check the date and give the date. So who want to come across to June to the conference, the trade conference in St. Kitts? Yeah, St. Kitts in June. That is next month. In June, and last time we had something in Grenada. Last year we were in Grenada. And we had a close to over 500 or so business persons from the continent, be it Africa, be it from Caribbean, Latin America, discussing trade, discussing opportunity, discussing how we could partner together to really bridge the gap. It was a bumper event, and I really hope a lot of the businesses from Trinidad, well, if you go to it, there's really nothing you could benefit from it, because the Afri-Exim Bank is not, Trinidad is not a signatory to the Afri-Exim Bank, so you could really talk, but you can't really do much unless you set up in one of the islands, your business, and then you could start doing trade through the Afri-Exim Bank, as the case may be. But it lends for, and I'm beating the drum because I'm one of the proponents behind the bank. I'm not being biased against the World Bank. I say they have a role to play, and my article in the comparative analysis demonstrate that. The World Bank have a role to play, and okay, they play their role, but the Afri-Exim Bank have another role to play, and we must allow them to play their role also. Really, and I just talking about the opportunities now that exist in Trinidad, partnering with the Afri-Exim Bank, and what we can do in terms of that cruise ship port we want to build in Tobago. I sure Farley will want to embrace the Afri-Exim Bank for that financing for a cruise ship port in Tobago and so forth, and see what terms and conditions he could negotiate to get that port going, because those are the type of projects that the bank embraces to a large extent. Yeah? So I let me just take a little shout here to say 342-0081, 466-5391. I've been on the horn for a while. So I say let me just open the salvo, because I just recently wrote that article. I wrote another article that speaks to the policing in school, or police in schools and so forth. And I think I have given my opinion on that on the radio in the past, where I said, okay, it may be in my article on LinkedIn relative to policing in school, or police in school, or I know how you want to structure it. I give a clear opinion on, it might be a short gap measure, but it's not a solution to a perennial problem that exists and will continue to grow if not addressed in a holistic way. And my article speak to addressing violence in the school. There's no such thing as school violence, but violence in the school in a holistic way, really and truly. So we'll jump in that in the next hour. Right? This hour I just want to focus on the Afri-Exim Bank. Is fresh in my mind with the signing of the World Bank. And what I like to our business group in this country, different chambers to do, is to ask the question, why have we not, probably, I'm not in the political fray, I'm not in the circle, I'm not no bourgeoisie, I'm not no mover, I'm not a mover and shaker of the economic space in Trinidad, so I may be too low below the radar to, in the English they say, lend me an air, for air to be lent to me, as the case may be. But those who listen from the chamber, you have Vashti Gayadeen from the Chamber Westmoreland and so forth. She's been doing yeoman service, and that I shout out to Vashti. Continue your hard work, tireless worker in the chamber. Good person, solid person, and she have one who have been pushing Trinidad outside in the wider space in terms of trade, in a selfless, passionate way. She have been doing that. So I say shout out to Vashti. And probably Vashti, you all could invite the Afri-Exim Bank to come and give a presentation to your chamber as to what they can provide to your members, and probably is something we can discuss. There's something we can really discuss with the chamber in terms of inviting the bank down, just to do some presentation, discuss what they do, how they do it, how it benefit the business sector, the trade sector, the manufacturing sector, the hotel and tourism sector, because one of the rubrics of the bank is to finance tourism type projects, be it hotels, be it port, and so forth. Let's have a discussion. It's something we could look at. I also speak of as a director, so I have a bias, but it's a good bias. I'm also the Caribbean director of the African International Chamber of Commerce and Industry, so I understand the need for that connectivity for the Caribbean region to be partner with Africa, the benefits that can be derived from that partnership. Yeah? So let us really dig deep if we really want to pivot and move out of that, what we call saturated market of the U.S. market, that everybody want to jump in the U.S. market because of the high consumption and so forth. We have some things going on in Latin America, but Latin America, as the chamber was saying, oh Lord, if we sign agreement with Latin America and they start to put their volumes on this side of the globe, we can't compete. I say, don't fear, look for alternative, and I'm giving alternative really and truly on how we can embrace the alternative. So I feel maybe tomorrow I'll call the chamber and see if I can arrange for the bank to come and do a presentation to the chamber and the business sector, and see if we could drum up some support that will encourage the government to see the real benefits and how we can help pivot this economy that is sliding. I listened to some economists this week from UWE, and most of the things that I've said, I saw them repeating, really and truly. But the economics of Trinidad is not difficult economics to turn around this economy. It's not difficult. I saw the Petrotrin, the refinery. The Petrotrin refinery. I saw there are some movements there in terms of some Tecumont group from Italy is engaging Patriotic, one of the proponents, to operate the refinery, which is all well and good. Good stimulation for the economy. I saw the HGC with their some $3 billion housing program and so forth. Very good for stimulating the economy and so forth. But as inward stimulation with the housing, Petrotrin more bring about some foreign exchange in terms of the export potential and in terms of curbing the leakage of foreign exchange, because right now all the fuels that we consume in Trinidad, liquid fuel, we import, be it diesel, gas, aviation fuel, kerosene and so forth, gasoline, be it aviation fuel, we import. So it requires a heavy amount of US leaving our country, and in quick order, we have to curb that and turn that around. Hence the reason that trade, export trade, is so critical to us in this country. The housing project, good idea, good initiative by the batsmen and so forth, is something that I proposed in the 9-year administration, was something I proposed, but again, it fell on deaf ear. I'm glad this administration picked up on it. And it is interesting how people tend to sell things, eh? The concept of that, let me tell you, let me give you some history. That concept started by Basde Pandey when he was Prime Minister. You see that concept that is being done now? I understood the concept, and during the 9-year administration, I had proposed that to some of the powers that be. Again, small fry, nobody don't really listen to me, so it just fall on deaf ear. You know how it is. But Pandey started that model, and that model was one of the most successful housing model in Trinidad. Because the way that was, but okay, I will ask the question where that was. So this model really and truly is, it says this. The Pandey model was, I don't know how to investigate this. I had to call the chairman of AGC and find out this, so, the minister. So AGC provides the land, and we invite developers to construct homes. AGC would design or define a course. They would say, I want you to build, I guess give an example. Townhouses for me at 900,000. I want you to build single units at 600,000. You are only paid, so AGC rule now is to administer that 75,000 plus persons that is in need of homes, and from that who would have qualified in TTMF to obtain a home, would have demonstrated their financial capacity to so obtain a home through AGC. So they have an administrative role in coordinating this activity between the contractor completing TTMF, sending the people there, making sure they approve and assigning them homes. From the sale of the home to the would-be homeowner, the contractor is paid. So AGC don't dip in their pocket. But going further, the little corner in that whole thing now is on every home that is sold through this arrangement. HGC is supposed to collect, I just go in the last of the numbers I know, 2% from the sale of that from the contractor goes back to AGC. So AGC get paid for the administrative role from the contractor for getting, let me say, getting that house sold for the contractor, or making sure that there is an occupier, therefore the contractor will get paid as fast as possible. So no longer would we see contractors saying, oh God, AGC will me $2 million and I ain't get paid. Once we assign a home to a would-be homeowner, mortgage is given, 900,000, TTMF give the mortgage as the case may be. The contractor get paid, 2% remit to AGC for the administrative role in coordinating all this activity and so forth. So the government end up making money from their own housing program, from the contractors and so forth. So that's the Baste Pande model. And so I don't know how far this model is in terms of that, but I know the contractors are the one who raising the finance. So when you say a man, let me explain some but engineering to the people and stop taking rhetoric. And I hate when politicians think the population of the Eric William and Gomes era. Trinidad is 98% literacy. We are a very literate population. I don't feel you could say, listen. The government provide an avenue for contractors to build home. Who's a contractor? The critical part of this contract is your ability to raise the finance to build the house, because you have to build the house with your money, and then government assigns somebody, and then on completion, when somebody acquires the home, you get paid. So you have to find the money. You know, as a contracting company or engineering company, you might say, Mitch, but I could own a contracting company tomorrow. The company is 1 month old. And here what people say, but you give a company at 1 month old $1 million contract, how much work that company ever do? And there's a foolhardy way to look at engineering. Engineering is not measured. Engineering capacity is not measured by how old the company is, or who own the company, be it Stocko, be it Harry, be it John, be it Tom, but the capacity of the technical people that are employed with the company determine the age of an engineering company. So I could raise a company tomorrow and get some of the best engineers, architects, project managers, and staff the company with it. That is the age of the company, really and truly. The experience that is born, because the company itself don't build no house. It's the people employed by the company that builds the house. Oh, the company, this company, and these are, oh my Lord, Jesus Christ, man. Is that how you measure a technical company's age? That is not what you do. It is the capacity of the staff within that organization that determines the age, the experience. Yes? Its ability to deliver. Those are the people that really defines a company. Not because I registered last week or week before, and I might be a school teacher, but you're a school teacher, and like when they Billy Hyatt and this is a cloth company, and it was not a cloth company can have the best engineers in the world, go turn a construction all in places. Some of the best engineers in the world is the engineers that build it, not the name of the company or when the company was registered, but the capacity, that human resource capacity, is what builds, is what design, is what execute, is what determine age of a company. right? So I want us to get out of the thing and the company thing and how they give a road company or they give a cleaning company a contract. Yeah, a cleaning company, yeah, but I have some of the best engineers in Trinidad in the company who could build house. It's them who build the house, not the company name. The company could name water bottle. But it's some of the finest brains in terms of, as I said, project management, design, civil engineering, mechanical engineering that we employ, and we build the house with that. So let's rubbish that theory of who they are. But the most critical aspect of the housing program is the ability for these companies to raise that kind of money, $200 million, $1 billion, as the case would be, to engage the AGC in building out these houses. Now, it will create heating up the economy to some extent, which is maybe good. We need some level of employment outside there and so forth. Movement of hardware material and so, the port activities on the port and so. Homes for people that is desperately in need of homes. I mean, if a man could pay $3,000 a month rent, which I know most people are paying, why they can't pay $1,500 or $2,000 in a mortgage? And those are the people we are to cater to and so forth. Now, we're at the top of the hour. We are about to swing across for a little break, pay some bills, as they say. And definitely we come back. I hope we engage some people on the 342-0081 and the 466-5391. As we return from the other side of this thing, we look at the schools and what is taking place at school and students and the violence that is approaching all of us. So on the other side, we continue. I'll see you in a little bit.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Peace of God be multiplied unto you in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is Redemption Hour, a gospel program where God will reveal His mind to you on how to live a fulfilled life and to please Him in all areas. Join Pastor Femi Afolabi, the National Overseer of Deeper Christian Life Ministry, Trinidad and Tobago, and other seasoned ministers for a time of divine encounter as they minister and pray for you every Saturday by 9 o'clock in the morning of this station, Street FM 91.9. Our church is Deeper Life Bible Church, number 1 Cochrane Street, opposite Tunapuna Police Station, Tunapuna. The times of our services are as follows: Sunday worship service, 9 a.m., Monday Bible study, 6 p.m., Thursday revival hour, 6 p.m. The redemption hour is a life-changing moment you cannot afford to miss. For special prayer or counseling, contact Pastor Femi Afolabi on 778-9933. God bless you as you listen to this program. Jesus is Lord.
What are you doing? Big D, big fun, KFC, so we big on the ground. We the nation, cause they don't know we were the crown. Say what you want, KFC, so we lead in front. We are big nation, TNT and KFC, one motion.
Come to KFC, let we all have vibe, and let we join together, because KFC is life. It's a big D.
Say what you want, KFC, so we lead in front. We are big nation, TNT and KFC, one motion.
Wrap up your Thursday the right way. Twister Thursdays. 2 twisters for just $54.95. Loaded, saucy, finger-licking good. One bite and you know, it must be KFC. Order now. Follow KFC Trinidad and Tobago WhatsApp channel for all the deals.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday
from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM.
Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
She's done it all for you. Nurse, chef,
Mom, I could borrow.
always helping you out in a crunch. Yup, Mom is that girl. And KFC's helping you show her just how lucky you are with a Quartz shopping spree with $10,000. Buy a Lucky 7 bucket for just $99. Upload your receipt to KFC's DMs and you could hook Mom up with a $10,000 Quartz shopping spree. Plus, more treats to spoil her, from a sparkation to stylish reflexer eyewear. Show Mom she is that girl with KFC. Promotion ends Friday, 8th May. Approved by the NLCB.
TechFlex TT Limited, the #1 computer store in Trinidad and Tobago, has all your tech needs. We have the latest computers, powerful MacBooks, and affordable Chromebooks for school and work, providing new and refurbished options to suit everyone's budget. Also, we carry a variety of printer options and ink solutions for your home and office needs. Need repairs done? Our experienced technicians can solve your tech problems. Visit us now at any of our 2 locations, Wilson Road, Scarborough, next to Royal Castle, or Penco Street, Montrose, Chagonas. Call 235-4919 for more info. TechFlex TT Limited. Affordable tech. Exceptional service.
It's a whole lot of flavor wrapped up in a twist. Some of them try to rap, but they don't rap like this. With crispy KFC tenders and lettuce and carrots and shredded tortilla embedded, perfect wherever you headed. Dripping with that creamy mayo and that mambo sauce. Let me tell them one more time to get my point across. It's a craveable, crunchable, movable, functional, flavorful meal that your taste buds must endorse. KFC, crunch twist, crunch twist. None of them, they don't make it like this.
Introducing KFC's Crunch Twist, a flavorful wrap with a delicious difference for just $29.95. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
We're back on the other side. We're back. Ooh, we have a caller. Caller, welcome.
Gentlemen.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm with you. Rock and roll.
Good
afternoon, my friend.
I believe I dialed the wrong number. Hope you guys are happened to dial the wrong number. Sorry about that.
Make a wrong dial there, man. There's a wrong dial, nothing happen. Everything happen for a reason. There's a reason for every season. You know, I said I did on this side of the top of the hour here, 5 o'clock. So I talk about the schools, and you know there was a video circulating of some individuals in school uniform in a physical altercation with a gentleman. So it was reported as, they say I wasn't there, school children and so forth. I did another article I wrote on LinkedIn, like I put everything on LinkedIn, but I started writing for the newspaper now, boy, about the importance or the view of the cadet forces, the cadet service being instituted in schools, and the role the cadet force, you're using the word force, cadet force they call it, the cadets, let me use cadets, can play in helping develop our young persons in Trinidad and Tobago to a large extent. I know we had the challenge, we have the challenge still of the violent activity that take place in schools, of the be it illegal items that are in our school system. I'm not separating or segregating or identifying any particular school. I'm just generalizing here. And a decision was made to, in the first instance, to have the police service form part of the security risk management in schools. Some were for it, some are against it, as the case may be. I, for one, had my views on it. That the police officers, TTPS, being in the schools, I like to define things to do what really. I think they went for some, 1 month or some kind of training or something like that. In terms of the issues that they have to deal with in school and school children, are they adequately trained mentally to address those challenges in school? Because the police could just stop, let's say, a fight when a fight takes place. But the police cannot stop the cause or the symptoms that brought about the fight. So, for the fight to take place, if we know the police, come like people speeding on the highway. You see a police car up ahead, you slow down. Pass the police car, you speed up. So try to know, okay, the police is by the gate, we'll go in the back of the school and fight. Well, the police in the back of the school and by the gate, I'll meet him down the road and fight. And I think that's the one happened on the streets where school children, as reported, I wasn't there, it is alleged, were fighting and a gentleman attempted to bring some level of reason amongst the persons fighting, and they became a victim. So what I'm saying is that the police in the school doesn't solve the problem. Caller, welcome. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, my friend. Welcome.
Hello, and good afternoon to my partner Marcus, wherever he is. I see like you in the studio.
Yeah.
Let me try to make it politically correct and short and sweet.
Yeah.
Must say good afternoon to the team who all leave there. Good afternoon to management and staff. They like the things I was saying for the last 9 years. And they try to censor me now because I'm saying certain things like a rubbing the fellas. I'm trying to take bread from nobody's mouth, you know. Either dealing with the truth and equal rights and justice, either man in the ground. So, I'm just watching and seeing and observing and what's going on. I have nothing more to say, so
appreciate.
I will be locking off and I have nothing to say because I want to take on a bread from nobody's mouth.
Blessings to you.
Boy, sing.
Blessings to you. So, the police officer in the school is a stopgap measure, but it must continue from there. It must continue on how do we address the symptom, the bacteria, the germ, the virus. how do we address that causing this thing? And I wrote about, my article is headed, Trinidad and Tobago needs a national cadet development program in school, not permanent policing in education. So that's what I wrote about. Not permanent policing. Yeah, I put it here for a stopgap measure while we structure and put a more long-term solution in place. So the long-term solution, I had it as rebuilding discipline, leadership, respect, and national identity amongst the nation youths. And hence the reason I look at the cadet, I look at other things, but I look at the cadet and what they represent, and I give the analysis, this is nothing new, of where the cadet were able to transform behavior, the cadet service in England, Canada, Jamaica, I think Grenada. I didn't have the data on Grenada. But where the cadet service was intricately involved in youth and youth development, and how transformative it was in those countries where it was applied. So I just look at three, probably there are more countries that they operate in. I just look at three of the major ones, the Canada across there. I look at the Commonwealth really and truly. England, I look at Jamaica, I think it's happening in Grenada also. Caller, welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen.
A pleasant good afternoon. Evening to you. Is afternoon, man. It is afternoon to you. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Listen to comments early on. Beautiful comments. Whether it be in finance or school, very, very important discussion. My view, gentlemen, you see what transpired with the older man?
Mm-hmm.
All the school children beat that man because he was trying to part a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they dealt with him several blows. This evening I heard on the news that 5 of the students were identified and they were suspended. Gentlemen, you see the suspension thing? It ain't working. Because all you're doing is sending them home on vacation to take a 2-week vacation and come back. Because the very students who bully other children in school, I mean, there was some very dread bullying, where you have children who were, their eyes were damaged. Some of them, they say, one of them, I know in particular, probably wouldn't be able to see through one of their eyes again because of the brutality that was, how he was beaten badly. So I'm saying that the time has come to take more drastic action against these students. Right? I think the time has come for that. I heard the government mention some time ago about parents feeling it in their pockets. So when your child bully another child in school, the parent must dip in their pocket and pay for that. I totally agree with that. Because when you are doing something and all you get is a slap on your wrist, go home for a week or two and come back to do the same thing, you will continue to do it because it's getting off easy. Now look how they beat a big man in town. A big man who could be the father. Who could be the father? The man on the ground on his kick and cuff. And you telling me all you do is suspend them? Brethren, gentlemen, it's two things with that, you know. Is either they get expelled or let the parents start to feel it in their pocket. So every time you bully a child, so the parent now must be able to tell that child, last month you cost me $2,000. I'm not going to tolerate you bullying no child again in school. Because every time you bully a child, I have to pay for it. It must reach to that. But it cannot be going, you're doing the same thing and expecting different results. bullying a child, beating a child, and you just send them for two weeks vacation home for them to come back to do the same thing. I am saying that something more drastic need to take place, or else this will continue. Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome. Thank you, caller. Well, the caller have his opinion, and a lot of people will agree with that there must be consequence for action, an action that is regressive to society as a whole. How do we measure? But again, does it solve the problem that parents start disciplining their children? Is it a wider problem that probably the problem is in the home and the parent in discipline also? But we had to dig deep. Probably there's a caller here. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon.
A pleasant good afternoon.
The last caller was okay with what he thinks should be done, but it needs to be some kind of consequence to retrain these children thinking, because clearly no respect is there at all. Not for adults, not for themselves. They're willing to fight, kick one another in the road, beat down one another. You know, what kind of thing is going on in their mind? They're crazy. That is what we have to think about. Suspension will not do that. Expulsion will not do that. These children need to be out of that environment, and some kind of retraining of the thinking needs to go on. You will have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you very much. My article read, the growing level of violence and discipline, gang influence, bullying, weapon possession, substance abuse, and aggressive behavioral culture among section of the youth population in Trinidad and Tobago has become one of the most serious long-term national security and social development concern facing the country today. Schools, which were once viewed primarily as institutions of learning and social development, are increasingly being forced to function as crisis management environment dealing with behavioral instability, emotional dysfunction, social conflict, and exposure to criminal influence originating outside the education system. You see why I went there? Where it's originating? Outside the education system, because it's not taught in the school. The recent initiative to place police officers within school reflects recognition by the state that the educational environment is under pressure and that immediate intervention is necessary to maintain order and reduce violent incident. While this approach may provide temporary deterrent, the rapid response capability and fundamental question that must be asked is whether policing alone can create meaningful behavioral transformation amongst young people. The reality is that enforcement may suppress behavior temporarily, but it does not necessarily change culture, value, mindset, discipline, emotional intelligence, or personal identity. The deeper issue confronting society is not simply misconduct within schools. The issue is that many young people are growing up in environments where discipline, mentorship, structure, accountability, civic responsibility, emotional regulation, and positive role modeling are increasingly absent. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the fabric of what we're looking for in our youths are not placed in them. So we're looking from them for something that was never put in to them. So this problem will continuously be cyclical. In many communities, gangs, social media influence, antisocial peer culture, and aggressive behavioral norms are becoming alternative system of identity formation for vulnerable youth population. Do you understand who's bringing them up? Once we understand where that challenge is coming from, we could then start to zero in on something. When young people are not provided with constructive pathway for leadership, belonging, recognition, and achievement, destructive influences inevitably fill the vacuum. Aha. I spoke once about all these early childhood centers all over the country. I was going down behind Ministry of Agriculture. There's a childhood center there. Big, nice, beautiful building. It's run down now, grass growing all over it. I sure we spent about $15 million to build that. Grass growing on it, underutilized. That can be used for constructive youth development program in communities. We have buildings all about. You have to identify why they are not fully utilized in the way it should be to help transform to some extent or instill to a large extent the value system we want out of our youths and so forth. I looked at it and from my little research, and probably other persons would have done more. I know psychologists or anything like that. I just read a lot and try to understand what is taking place. I came up with this from research, talking to a friend of mine wrote a book, Dr. Wallace William. He's out in Africa now. He was, when Prince Philip was alive, he was given an honor for this book. He wrote the book on cadets and the utilization of CVQ, education and so forth, which Professor I read it here once, man. Professor Dirisaran had commented on the book and the role that cadets can play. So I pull out what some of the things that he looked at in terms of transforming youth behavior that are negative to society. So I read on. This is why Trinidad and Tobago must seriously consider the integration of a structured national cadet development program within the secondary school system as a long-term national development strategy. So I'm saying is that I don't want to criticize you, But if I criticize you, let me give you a suggestion, a recommendation based on sound research and the possibility of some positive outcome that this could bring. So I don't want to say, hey, don't do that. Okay, if I'm not doing that, well, what to do? I can't criticize without solution, and this will bring. The cadet model has historically proven successful throughout several Commonwealth countries, including United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and Jamaica, because it focuses on behavioral transformation through structure, discipline, leadership development, teamwork, civic education, physical fitness, mentorship, and national pride. Unlike traditional enforcement approaches, cadet system does not rely primarily on fear or punishment. They create positive identity systems that encourage young people to voluntarily adopt standards of conduct, accountability, and self-discipline. That is the reason why I made a recommendation for the cadet service to form part of our school system, really and truly, and our community system, our youth development system. Matter of fact, my daughter was a captain in cadets, Hey, Rambi. Shout out to you, girl. Yeah, she was a captain in cadets. She came on when she left school. They give these awards and so forth. She got the highest award. Principal medal she got when she left high school and moved on. And she was a captain in the cadets, so I know what cadets can do. One of the most important realities about youth development is that young people naturally seek belonging, recognition, structure, hierarchy, identity, and purpose. These psychological and social needs are universal. The question is whether society provides positive institution to satisfy those needs before gang, antisocial peer group, or destructive influence do it first. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah? You see the early bird catch the worm? Well, it's who instill what inside, who program the child. Well, that is the output we'll get from the child. What goes in comes out. You understand? Cadet programs are effective because they replace negative identity system with positive development system. Uniforms, rank structure, achievement pathway, team exercises, leadership opportunities, community service, and mentorship all contribute towards building confidence, responsibility, and self-worth amongst participants. You understand where the output is from. And the thing about the cadet is fun, you know. So you're doing all these things. You're instilling all these things in our youth while they're having fun doing it. You know, we talk about the Norway model. I like to look at Norway success stories as way out there. Some I look at China was doing something, China or Japan was doing something with the young people today where they were making education fun, where they were making development, social development fun. It didn't have no what do we call TikTok or devices. They're outside in the yard playing with the 6 stones, the lizard, the tree, the branch, the swinging, and they were learning to hike, to understand a compass, to go on a trail, to understand the flora and fauna that exists, and so forth, and the benefit, how to determine, when you look at the moss on a tree, you could determine where the east is, you know that. If you go in the forest, based on where the moss is on the tree, you know where the east and where the sun rise and where the sun set. All these little fun things that you can do in terms of developing character. Get them off the device. Get them off the device and build character in them. We want something out of them, but we're not putting it in them. So charging the parents and charging this one and that, but does the parents have the capacity to put those positive values in them? I don't know. Probably some people do, some people don't. I don't know. So all of that we have to look at. We have a Ministry of Social Development. I think that was community development. I think all are the same thing. How much of an intervention in communities these ministries play? If they're okay, I'll give you an example. So we had the issue with the children in this fight this week here, and the elderly gentleman was roughed up by the children and so forth. The question I asked you, we suspend them. But what level of intervention took place by the social development or the ministry, if they have a psychology department, or the children authority, in terms of understanding the home? Why the child believe that in the road I could be fighting a big grown man that could be my father, that could be a mentor, that is a leader in society, as the case would be? Have anybody go and look at their home structure to see what is happening, meet with the parents, understand the child, what is taking place with the child, if it's an abusive home, the child is growing up in, if the child is a single child and really the parents working so much, the child really, the streets bringing up the child. Have what intervention? Yeah, we as the caller said before, we suspend them. But we suspend them into what? To get further tooled, further inoculated by the negatives of the community that they belong to. So we say, stay home from school. So spend all your time and get some inoculation from the negative influences in your community. Are we solving problem, or are we just kicking the pan down the road and believe we cleaning house? You know, some people sweep the house and the house clean, but they raise the mat and they put all the dust and so forth below the mat and the house clean. You really clean the house, you just shift the dirt. You shift the problem. So, is the Ministry of Social Development, Social and Community Development, playing a role in this antisocial, violent, aggressive behavior of the young children in our society? Are they playing a role? Is Children Authority playing a role? Or Children Authority, I don't know their rubric. I must go and research what Children Authority is supposed to be doing. Only children who they take from battered homes they see about, or they have a wider remit. Children Authority is children in Trinidad and Tobago, not children who, in my opinion, I don't know the full remit of the Children Authority. The Ministry of Education, what is the social development arm of the Ministry of Education doing? Let me tell you, school feeding program was born out of an understanding that a lot of children were underperforming because they come to school, they reach in the school, and half of them didn't have no breakfast, didn't have nothing to eat. The hottest thing on the chest was the sun that shine on the chest when they were walking to school, like the hottest thing they had on the chest. None of food, none of cup of tea. And who had tea had some fever grass tea, probably that no sugar in it, so that take it on the chest like that. But probably it's healthy, good for the worms and whatever, the immune system and so forth. But that probably was the hottest thing on the chest. If they had some flour home, they'd make a little bake and bake they might eat. So when you go to school, you had the milk and you had, the biscuit tin, you had the little biscuit. It started off like that. You got a cup of milk and you have 6 crisp biscuit or whatever biscuit you might have and so forth. And it was really born out of, there was a need, that children had a need that society had to intervene to help satisfy that need. And that need called hunger. School feeding program is what it is today by identifying and trying to address a need that stem from their home inability to really satisfy their nourishment, the dietary demand. That's why it existed, really and truly. But we had to go further. So we identified the need for a school feeding program, but there's a mental challenge now that exists. The violence comes from a mental challenge. So we feed them and they're fit now. They are full of energy. So we do with this energy now, they go and fight. So we must go further in terms of identifying cause. The placing of police officers into schools may unintentionally create an atmosphere where educational institutions begin to resemble controlled security zones rather than developmental environment. So we don't want to create that. While law enforcement officers perform a critical national role, policing is fundamentally reactive in nature. Police officers are trained primarily in enforcement, public order management, criminal response, and investigation. So we identify the person we put there, who they are. Youth transformation, however, requires long-term cultural engagement, mentorship, emotional development, and structured leadership cultivation. You understand what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm saying? And breaking down how we address this thing now. We identify the police and the role that they play, what they were trained for, their rubric, and they have a place in the whole thing, I'm not saying that they're necessary. They have a place. But the problem is deeper than that. A cadet development program offers a fundamental different approach. It seeks to shape internal discipline rather than impose external control. I want to say that again. The cadet development program offers a fundamentally different approach. It seeks to shape internal discipline rather than impose external control. Students are encouraged to become part of a system that rewards responsibility, teamwork, respect, punctuality, physical development, communication skills, and community contribution. This distinction is extremely important because sustainable behavioral changes occur when individuals internalize value rather than merely comply under supervision. Go down the road and pick up the cup. Instruction. But if you explain the importance of going down the road and picking up the cup and moving the cup, you'll willingly go and do it because you understand the benefit, the pros and the cons of moving the cup. That's what the cadet does. It instills that value system for you to understand the benefits of an activity or an action. Yeah? The situation is particularly critical amongst young males who in many communities are increasingly exposed to environment where aggression, intimidation, criminal affiliation, and antisocial dominance are normalized as symbol of strength or survival. You understand what they idolize? It makes them feel belong. Make them feel relevant. You understand? Without intervention, many young men seek identity through gang culture because gang often provide the structure, status, belonging, recognition, and hierarchy that are absent elsewhere. Cadet systems redirect those same those same physiological and psychological drivers towards productive leadership and disciplined service. You understand what it instills? It shows you, hey, you don't have to go there for that, We could give you this here. But when we give it to you here, the value proposition or the return is much more rewarding on this side than if you go that side. So we're presenting an option. You have the community that gives you something in terms of, be gang violence or on the block linemen and so forth, and you have this side here that gives you something. So you have options now. A lot of youths do have no option, really and truly. So they have to take what they get, and then we vex with them. But we never, as adults, presented option to them. Some communities they have, some places they have, some families they have, some cultures they have, some ethnicity they have presented, but in general, it's not a rule of thumb that these things were provided. Right? Equally important in the role cadet programs can play in empowering young females. Structured participation in leadership training, physical development, communication exercise, civic engagement, emergency response and team building activity help build confidence, resilience, self-esteem, and professional discipline among female students. Modern cadet systems throughout Commonwealth nations have successfully demonstrated that structured youth development produces strong positive outcome across both genders. So there's evidence that a system work in terms of working with youths to create what we call a level of transformation away from that which is regressive or negative that society is deemed an activity that would require suspension or what they call youth, the YTC, a visit to YTC, and so forth. There is an alternative, and I want the society, I want the administration to really dig deep at what I'm presenting here and what exists. We are the cadet service, they exist in Trinidad. I don't know how prevalent they are in schools. I don't know what is happening with them. But it must form part of a system. So just how we could say police in school, we must say cadets in school. It must form part of the curriculum in school and student development, children development. And don't only believe, as Matheson always say, that fighting in school only take place in schools and in depressed communities, These inverted commas, I say, prestige schools also have school, but it is not brought out in the fray like other schools are. But the prestigious schools have the fight also, have the discipline also. So don't believe it's one set of students that are involved in behavior that is unbecoming. Don't think so. It prevails in a lot of areas in society. So we're not marginalizing any group, any ethnic group, or any social group, or any community as a whole. It happens all over. Just who the spotlight on, we tend to see. But if you really pull back the spotlight and let it shine all over, you'll see how prevalent violence in school, and some school, they carrying their parents' gun in the school, and what school, they're doing bomb threat, and things happen in schools, really. Students really listen, let's stop singling out and feel it's too little school down the corner down there. It's all over the place. The experience of the United Kingdom offers valuable insight. Cadet forces integrated within educational institutions have consistently contributed towards improved student discipline, stronger attendance, leadership development, confidence building, and community engagement. Importantly, these programs are not designed as military recruitment system, but rather as youth development framework that prepares students for productive citizenship and professional life across multiple industries and sectors. I pause just to give the number 342-0081-466-5391. Similarly, the Canadian Cadet Program have become internationally respected for its success in developing leadership, discipline, civic responsibility, physical fitness, and emotional resilience amongst youth population. That's in Canada. Research conducted in relation to youth development program internationally continues to demonstrate that structured extracurricular engagement significantly reduces the likelihood of criminal involvement, antisocial behavior, school disengagement, and long-term social instability. Caller, welcome. Oh, caller. Sorry about that, caller. Take too long. So we're seeing where the cadet service, and I just choose one because I just researched one. Probably there are many other institutions, tools, or methods that we can use. I just use. Oh no. Call back. I make a mistake there. Call back. My bad. I made a mistake there. Call back. Yeah, I just pressed the wrong thing there. My fault. My fault. Yeah, so I just choose one to expand on in terms of the research and how it created that positive outcome in those societies. We talk UK, we talk Australia, and we use different sides of the globe really and truly. Yeah? England on one side, Australia on the next side, Canada on the next side, and I use Jamaica. In the Caribbean, I was supposed to look at Grenada also, but definitely I'll look at Grenada and look at what that success curve was in Grenada. Cadets, as I know, we have cadets in Trinidad, how it has immersed itself into schools in the last 10 years or so, or 15. I don't know if it has dwindled. I know my daughter, she was in the cadets. She was a captain in the cadet service before she left school. I don't know how prevalent it is in schools today. I know, you see them hiking out, doing the weekend hikes and jaunts all about the place and really building teamwork and camaraderie and so forth, leadership, discipline, respect. It brings about a level of fitness awareness because there's no cell phone out in the cadet camp when you're camping out in the bush and out all about the place in the savannas. And so when you see them, I know Crown Point in that open area some years ago, cadets were camping out there. Whole cadet battalion were camping out in that open, right outside the airport there, and you walk down from the airport in Crown Point, that open field, a cadet tent and so forth. And it created that sense of belonging, pride, and so forth in youths. And we look forward to the next jaunt, man, when we go outside there and do something. Yeah? The Caribbean region, let me have a caller here answer. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Pleasant good afternoon. Welcome.
Yes, I heard you said something about the prestige schools. They have their fights, just as how we see in Tranquil and the Mucorapos and whatever. I have a friend, she loves to tell me that how, you just feel is only Tranquil and them schools fighting, them prestige school. I said, listen, I never said the prestige schools don't have this situation, but their students are not stupid to videotape it and put it on Facebook. That is the difference. They have investigated. My son went CIC, and at a situation, I went to school in there for certain things where rich boys, but did not pull it out that they hammer and stoned on them in Tranquil. But I tell her, I will keep saying it, when also in Tranquil and all the schools want to go and videotape the bad behavior of your classmates, you're putting your school in a bad way. Right? They're giving the police the evidence, body seat live, what that young girl, boy did that man. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Come on. They have no respect at all. Look, you remember when there was in that same Tranquil, the principal, Margaret Robertson, the ex-president's daughter, she was principal, and she decided to go down in the school yard and part a fight. Well, she ended up on the ground. The next thing we heard, she was in St. Medical. She was like, what's the guy named? In Rodriguez? Calypso, footsteps on the ground, footsteps. She was on the ground. No, you going to school and teacher appear on the scene, drive around to straighten up. Your principal get in the mix of a fight and all you had you on the ground fight. Nah, man. And I heard Prime Minister said when she took office, when students fight in class, school or wherever on the road, they're going to be charged. Kamala predecessor said it. She said they're only going to suspension, expelling. You can file a charge against perpetrator. So wait to see if that older man going to fight charges, because that was real behavior. I shudder when those two, especially that one who kicked that man in his head, when he gets an assault, I'm sorry if he and somebody have a fight. And we heard on the radio this morning, cell phone and his watch was stolen. So they only a man. It was theft. My God. Ridiculous. Have a good evening.
Blessings to you, blessings, and thanks for calling. Again, the concern, public is concerned, we'll charge the parent, do we then put the child back out? But the child will become an adult with that inherent violent attitude as part of our society. You know what I'm saying? The child will not always be a child, you know. But there are some cultural behaviors that is instilled in that child that was never addressed. Hello, caller, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon. I like the topic. Me income to condemn the younger generation with the ornament, the kick, the trying the ground and all them kind of thing. You see the social, because plenty of them children coming from break up homes and all them kind of thing, you know. They might have the problems home and they come in and rent it out and somebody else. If it's a student in the school or somebody, but you see the social development, they have to get down on the ground and deal with the relationship with the children, and then we can't condemn the children because them is the nation, you know.
So true.
I beg you, those in authorities, or let's see what they must. I call about them must suspend them, lock them up, or they're creating monsters in the society. Suspend them to do what? To go on the block, to hold a bag of weed. The criminal might snatch them and tell them, go and snatch this gun and do that and toast them gun and all them kind of thing. We have to save the youths and them, but too much of the youths and them dying out and they get misguided. Especially when they come from rural communities too. It's easy to grow up in them rural communities and them, you know, father.
So true.
You have to be real strong, you know. Because everybody wants to be a bad man, everybody wants to wear a gold chain, they're watching the gang leader. They're watching this, they're watching that, but we have to save the youths and them, man. Or don't condemn the youths and them.
Blessings to you. Thank you, my friend. Take care. Good. So we had to understand, yes, we would. Caller, welcome. Welcome.
Yes, so pleasant good afternoon.
Pleasant good afternoon.
Panel there, yes, 91.9, yes. Now, the cadet introduction is all well and good, right? But when I saw that video, well, you could see it's the older man that started that thing. Because he colored the young lady, right? And you don't turn that these days. Yes? Because they will retaliate. And you know what is part of the problem? The music, my friend. Yes, because Jamaica discovered it. I said that more than once here on the radio. The music getting into the youth. And the music is telling them, go take, retaliate. Going deeper. When they go with the guns and so on. So they grooming them from school days. So when you see cars and things being shut up, all these cars and people being shut up, just in south, they shut up a car and kill the woman there. these things start, the music telling them to do that, and they telling them to do that from early, right? So get these youths away from listening to these music that glorifying gangsterism. Get it out of their system. Let them listen something. I think they should follow Jamaica, right? And then you can come with the cadets and room them back. You know, other programs and so on, and room them back. Because a young mind is a system. And some of these singers know that. Right? And when you put police in school, the youths, that is popularity for them. Them glad for that. Because I hear them boasting already. We school so bad. Police had to come. You understand?
Yeah. Go along.
So you see, we tell them a long time that the police will be in the school, but they will fight outside. Well, watch what happened with the older man. Right?
Yeah.
And that young lady, you can see she pumped up with that, with some kind of thing. The music, I'm telling you, she hit that older man too cuff, and that he was on the ground. By a young lady, that boy.
Kola, thanks for your
That was very
contribution.
bad.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good
Yes,
man.
thank you very much. Yeah.
So again, we see the direction and we understanding. But we have to understand, if you do fix the youth now, that youth growing up to be an adult, and then we have a different problem on our hand. Because now we become an adult with that thinking, that attitude, that behavior. What will our society become in the next 5 years if the youths of today behaving and are allowed to behave how they're behaving, if we haven't instilled some level of discipline? I don't start from secondary school or from primary school, you know. If we don't start instilling positive values in our youths now, so we don't have to inherit the bad behavior tomorrow. We go on the other side, we're taking some breaks now, go and pay some bills. See you on the next side.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Wrap up your Thursday the right way. Twister Thursdays. 2 twisters for just $54.95. Loaded, saucy, finger licking good. One bite and you know it must be KFC. Order now. Follow KFC Trinidad and Tobago WhatsApp channel for all the deals.
There's some advice when you hear it. You know, one time is good advice. My granny tell me a hot cup of good and natural ginger tea first thing in the morning does wonders for the body. Good and natural ginger tea in its single-sized packets is excellent for flavoring your cooking, salads and desserts. But what was news for me is when my granny say a hot cup of good and natural ginger tea helps with nasal congestion and colds, stomach problems, migraine headaches, and it's really good for arthritis in the body. Made from freshly crushed ginger root to get that strong ginger taste and aroma so soothing. Good and natural ginger tea available with or without sugar, so all you need is boiling water to get a cup going. As the old people say, don't take flambeau to see in the night what you could see clear in the day. Good and natural ginger tea. Good advice to start your day right.
Hi there, I'm Lester Suglal, inviting you to join me on the first, second, and third Saturday, 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the program Slow Gospel Music, and on the fourth and fifth Saturday from 8:30 p.m. for an extended version of Slow Gospel Music on Street 91.9 FM.
Is a whole lot of flavor wrapped up in a twist. Some of them try to rap, but they don't rap like this. With crispy KFC tenders and lettuce and carrots and shredded tortilla embedded, perfect wherever you headed. Dripping with that creamy mayo and that mambo sauce. Let me tell them one more time to get my point across. It's a craveable, crunchable, movable, functional, flavorful meal that your taste buds must endorse.
KFC, crunch twist, crunch twist. None of them, they don't make it like this.
Introducing KFC's Crunch Twist, a flavorful wrap with a delicious difference for just $29.95. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Share the lawn. Share the lawn. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
So we're back at the top of the hour. We're back at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock hour, running down the clock. I think we're looking at the topic of the violence in the school, violence amongst school children. Because it's not in the school no more, it's on the street. So violence amongst our youths, let's rephrase it. Violence amongst our youth population. And I said, why we need to address it now is because those same young persons would be adult in 5 or 6 years. And we have to ask ourselves, is that the type of adult behavior we want in our society 5 years? So we could sit back, look at what behavior now and kind of visualize what our society would be in 5 years' time. If this is the characteristic of the future leaders and the workforce in our society, then we're in a bad place. So we have to start shaping the minds now for the society we want tomorrow. And this is why the intervention have to take place now. Charging the parents is like putting police in the school. It doesn't fix the problem. It's a stopgap measure because the parents do not have the wherewithal or is not, remember, to be a parent, you don't have to pass no exam or not like that, you know. You have to train, there's no training, there's no standard or qualification to be a parent, you know. And we have to understand what happens down the road when the parent and some of these young persons who behave like this may end up being parent without they themselves do have no positive values instilled in them. What can they pass on to their children? You understand what I'm saying? So we really telling stone to produce water. You don't have it in you, you can give it to somebody, really and truly. And we have to be mindful of that as a society. Yeah, charge the parents, okay, you charge me, so you don't want the child to behave bad. I wonder what to do, boy. Well, I'll cuff him in the head or some kind of thing, so until boy stop fighting in school and beat him when he come home or something like that. But, you know, that is a solution, really and truly. So the people who are asking to change others, they are themselves have the problem that we want them to change in the next person, as the case may be. This is why I ask the role of our community development, our social services and so forth. Are we drilling down in the communities to see what product is being generated or being groomed in the community that comes out into the wider society, and then all of us behave shocked and surprised when we see behaviors like this. But it is groomed somewhere. It is nurtured somewhere. We just seeing the fruit from a tree that was nourished and nurtured with those fertilizers. Then we shock. Then we surprise. How did you run behaving so? Well, it's what you put in, you get out, you know, really and truly. Right? As I said, parents, there's no training school or camp or lessons to learn for good parenting and culturing of children. There's no school with that. So relying on parents who really don't have it in them to put it in them, they could only put in what they have in themselves. So we're in a kind of a dilemma. So I ask, if we have these institutions, I know the people in social service and community development are trained. Or if we have enough trained personnel in these institutions to really start with any transformative measures in our communities, in our schools, in our society, I do not know. So there's so much fragmentation all around that really and truly solutions is really what we want, and trying new things but not the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. My research on the cadets as one solution we can put on the table, there may be many more. And if we get more suggestions, definitely we'll examine those suggestions. I guess the executive or the administration would look at these suggestions. And it's not a matter of the executive alone. We have 41 people in the parliament, and I'd like to hear stimulating debates on some transformational solutions that could really elevate the country's youth image. When something is on social media, the man in Russia and all seeing it, you know. The man in Australia on the next side of the globe seeing it also. Is that the image we want to present to our investors who we're trying to attract to the country? Is that the methodology that we will demonstrate to them that we are using to solve our problems where youth and youth development is concerned? We must be more strategic than that, how we do it. And not be, I call it laissez-faire, knee-jerk. We can't be, we must be more deeper than that. And I believe the captain of the batting side is supposed to have within the rubric of these institutions people who have been schooled and trained, I suppose, and experienced to come up with better solution and recommendation for the captain to approve. Really. I continue with what I wrote. The implementation of a national youth cadet development program should not be viewed solely as an educational initiative. It should be understood as a strategic national investment in social stability, crime prevention, workforce development, and long-term national building. The program can integrate leadership training, civic education, conflict resolution, disaster preparedness, all these things that can physical training, community service into a structured development framework. The program can also create pathways for exposure into careers in engineering, ICT, aviation, maritime service. So there are a lot you can learn while, in terms of practical, it's not chemistry, it's not physics, but there are some social things that you can learn that is exciting and interesting in being part of an organization as the cadets. Many young youth currently lack exposure to structured career development opportunities. The cadet system can help bridge that gap by connecting discipline with ambition and national productivity. So give you hope. It's this is possible really and truly. Another important benefit, we talk about civic identity and patriotism. One of the emerging global challenges facing modern societies is weakening social cohesion and declining national consciousness among young generation. So what I'm saying is that we might be a little cocoon in Trinidad, 5,400 square kilometer rock. The problem is bigger than us, you know. But we have to put some systems in place to address our rock. But as I said, when you look, this solution have been, England had a problem with youths. Australia had a problem with youths. Canada had a problem with youths. Jamaica. And one of the solutions they looked at that work was the introduction of cadets in the school system. As I said, there may be many other things that can be done. I'm just using one for now as we're having this conversation together. Right? So, the cadet program help cultivate respect for country, service, community responsibility, and national development. In a multicultural society such as Trinidad and Tobago, programs that encourage teamwork across ethnic, geographic, and socio-economic lines can contribute significantly towards social integration and national unity. So it's not them and we no more, what the cadets say, because in a cadet environment, like people who in the police service or in the army would understand that, really and truly, I don't care about your race, your ethnicity, your fat, your thin, you know. I had to watch your back, you had to watch my back. It's survival. It's all of us rising together, all of us surviving together, all of us contributing together to a positive outcome, as the case may be. Yeah? And our cadet instill, if you're in a classroom and Tom is doing poorly at arithmetic, we come together with Tom and we try to work with Tom and see how we can help Tom improve in his arithmetic and his English and so forth. You understand what we try to do? Collectively, we feel we are responsible for each other. Positive development as a community, as a group, as a classroom, as a school, as a community. It must spill out and spill over. And it must be an investment by the government. This is an investment into the development of youth and the youth population. Critically, the economic implication must also be considered. Crime, violence, school instability, gang recruitment, and youth delinquency impose enormous long-term costs on the state through policing, judiciary expenditure, incarceration, social intervention programs, healthcare burden, and lost productivity, which everybody knows as a fact. Which everybody knows is a fact. When you reach the stage where you say, okay, we have to charge the children or charge the parent or incarcerate in YTC, it's a cost to those things, you know. It's a cost to the judiciary, it's a cost to the police, it's a cost to the management of YTC, it's a cost. You know, I mean, somebody must ask the question, what does it cost the country right now to have police in all the schools? There's a bill we have to pay. What is the cost of policing in school, having police officers in school right now? What is that cost? I hear the bowlers and them ask the question. I hear the bowlers and them. And you see, you know, a problem we have in this society. Here's what we tend to say. My role is not to make the government look good, you know. Yeah, I hear people say that. That the opposition role is not to make the government look good. Or give them ideas. Because if we give them ideas and they perform well, they'll win the next election and we won't get to win. So the objective is to make the executive feel so we could end up in government. Now, this is not a yellow or red thing. It is a general thing across the border. If we make them look bad, they will lose and we will win. So people tend to, at the demise of the country, seek power. So everybody on their own beat, really and truly, so the student on their own beat too. I want power, I kick down, kick all that man, I get popular. Because at the demise of somebody, I rise. So if the batsmen look bad, the bowlers rise. But is that what we want as a society? We want all of us to rise together. So if I cuff down the elderly gentleman, I rise. That is the girl that do that, you know. She's the, me and others call them and so forth. She's the baddest now. She cuffed down the older man. She just got a little weak suspension. She back out. Well, what she, you know. She control. So she feel a level of accomplishment. Because at the demise of one, I rise. And our society has become one of standing on the shoulders and the backs of others, or the demise of others, we rise. But it's never about all of us rising together. So we talk about all the incarceration and all these things that really is a burden to the state. What I'm proposing is what I call prevention-based youth development strategies, which are significantly more cost-effective over the long term than reactive criminal justice intervention. Every young person redirected towards leadership, education, discipline, and productivity represent a reduction in future social and economic burden. That's what I'm saying. If we don't transform them now, 5-10 years from now, there will be the man doing the drive-by, robbing the store, what they call the house breaking and larceny. If we don't correct it now, if we do the intervention now, it will cost us down the road. Hence the reason we supposed to have solutions now. Policing is not a solution. It is a stopgap measure. It will not fix the long-term expense we'll have to face if we don't fix it now. The fellas and them who doing the house breaking and the drive-by, they were in the same category as these young children, you know. They were young children before, you know, and if you go back in their history, they didn't happen overnight. It was not light switch on and they become, as the driver and as the getaway driver. That didn't happen overnight. That happened 10 years ago. Go back in their history and check 10 years ago what was happening to them coming up the road. Check it out. The introduction of a national cadet development program within school represents an opportunity to move beyond reactionary response towards comprehensive developmental strategy focused on prevention, transformation, and nation building. The objective is not to criminalize students through permanent security presence, but rather to cultivate discipline, resilience, confidence, and socially Caller, welcome.
Yes, gentlemen.
Welcome.
You know, KFC called and gave a brilliant contribution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to give up on youths. You know, fight for youths.
Yeah.
As I say, everybody deserves a second chance. I am wondering this evening, gentlemen, if it is possible to have a school, but not a school like a normal secondary school and, you know, the normal curriculum and so on, but a school of discipline, so that when these so-called bullies are misbehaving, you take them out of school, where there are children there who are willing to learn it, but the bullying obstruct them from earning that education. I'm asking the question, if it is possible to have a place for these so-called bullies to be placed in what do you call it, a school of discipline, whereas you're not really giving up on them, but you're giving them an opportunity to change. But the honest difference is you are moving them away from the children who are willing to learn, from the children who are willing to get an education. So this is a suggestion that I have. Build a school or whatever building you have, because if these youths are not showing no interest at all to learn, but they're obstructing those who are willing to learn, put them in a disciplinary school, as the case may be, and teach them morals, respect and responsibility and them kind of thing. A special kind of education for them. I don't know how you gentlemen would see it. I don't know how you see it. But this is how I am, a kind of vision I'm seeing right now. You're not giving up on them, You're removing them from the children who are willing to learn and get an education, and you have a separate school for them, for the bullies. You are giving them a chance to change their ways and so on. Yesterday, I was listening to the program yesterday, and there was a gentleman who called in and talked about the Neil and Marcy Foundation. I don't know if you gentlemen have heard about that. Well, the Neil and Marcy Foundation is a group that would have been going into communities, and they were targeting the young men in the communities from anywhere from I think it's from 16 down. And they were teaching these young men. They had entrepreneurs that was coming in. They had people who would have served time in prison. They would have brought these people to the program to talk to the youth, to talk to the young people. Now, this would have been, I'm moving away from school now, dealing with the community now, right? Because the youth need to know that they have another option. Because some of them believe that they are good for nothing, they've done some whatever. But that program was bringing out young people. They were targeting the male. And my brethren are telling you something. Them young fellas and them came out there. They had lawyers. They used to bring in the program also and talk to them. And let me tell you something. It was real good. It was for a month, but it was so positive that they went on to have it for another month. Right? And it was very good. So we need to get into the communities. We need to form organizations. We need to go into the communities and presenting like trade, plumbing, electronics, and stuff like that. It's one thing to talk about it, but we need to act. Who don't want to? Let me tell you something. That program you guys said I'm telling you about, I was part of that program in trying to get as much young people as possible to attend the program. And I could tell you that there were some young men who were, no matter how you talk to them, they ain't coming. They want to know if it have money in it. Once it have money in it, they think I ain't coming. And I can remember where two of the guys who was attending the program, they were trying to discourage them from coming. No, don't go there, it's not nothing that for you. So you will always get that. You will always get the negativity. But that doesn't mean to say that you're not going to try. So gentlemen, this is how I see it. As far as the school is concerned, move away bullies, put them in a separate school.
Yeah.
To learn discipline, responsibility, as the case may be. And as far as the community is concerned, get programs, trade programs, as the case may be, workshops, as the case may be, and get them into the community and see what could be done.
This Neil and Marcy program, caller?
Yes.
Is it an ongoing? I never heard about it before, and so I had to research it. But was it a one-off thing? Is it an association, an organization, like how a social arm of Neil and Marcy that they do it in different communities? Could you give me more insight on it?
Yeah, they entitled it Boys to Men.
Mm-hmm.
Boys to Men was the name of it. And I want to believe that it was associated with Neil and Marcy. So they had a special group. The gentleman who was in charge for coming in the Lavantil area is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Jeffers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the guy who called yesterday could call back the program today. He could probably tell you more. But it was a Neil and Marcy initiative.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I got in contact with them.
Yeah.
They wanted to organize maxis for me to bring the young men away from Lavantil. And I tell them no. Let the young men and them see that you are interested. Let them see that you're interested in them.
Yeah.
They don't have, some of them already have a feeling about them. Nobody likes me, nobody loves, as the case may be. And they agreed. And they came in. And let me tell you something, gentlemen. At the end of the program, certificates were given to the young men. So they had certificates that were given to them. And Neil and Marcy also helped in getting jobs. For a good bit of them, not all, but a good bit of them got jobs from that program. So they have something to show, a certificate to show that they were in they attended a program and so on. And it was beautiful, man. It was real beautiful, real beautiful. And you know, they working with everything, table, chairs, everything, and also all you have to do is get the place. Whether it's a center in the area, whether you ask a school in in my area, I went to the principal and I asked her if it possible we could use the auditorium. And I told her about the program, and she said yes. And we were able to use the auditorium. And even on account of that, the school was given a printer by the Need and Mercy Foundation, because the principal told me that they needed that in the school. And I said, okay, I'll talk to them and see what happened. And at the end of the program, they gave the school a printer that the principal really needed for the school at that time.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, gentlemen, we don't totally want to give up on the young people.
what you talk there, caller, is good. What they call a social intervention, where civil society see where we can't just stand aside and say it's not our responsibility, because eventually it may come and knock on our door. And we all at Neil and Marcy, hats off to them if they did this, so that, hey, all of us really have to come together to curb the scourge that may eventually reach my door or affect my children or grandchildren while they're out on the street. So we have a social responsibility also. All of us, all the institutions advertising the billions of dollars, invest in you not because your child is doing well. Don't feel the next child down the road that is doing bad when come knocking on your door to deprive you or your family of something that is precious. So you have a social responsibility also, really and truly, and hats off to Dylan and Marcy. I'll call them tomorrow just to find out more about it.
Yes.
And what we can do in terms of expanding something like this and encouraging more of the corporate organization to participate and really join in this, because 1 month will not do much transformation, but continuously embedding ourselves in the communities to show that we are just come to papi show nobody, but we really partner in youth development, we can really transform. So 10 years from now, we can walk the street at 2 in the morning and feel safe.
Yes, man.
You understand? Thanks for your contribution, my friend. Blessings to you.
Yes.
Take care. Good.
Blessings, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's basically what we're looking for in terms of solutions, and not policing or criminalizing to some extent, if there is a word, the students or young people. I want to say students, young people, in communities, in schools and so forth. I see some of these, I think it's community center. I was going to see what the sign is on it. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Welcome.
And to everyone.
Welcome.
This has to start at a younger age with the parent in the home. And there also has to be a close communication with the parent, not just one, to involve the both parents at certain point in time, and the teachers as well, coming up from young. We have to tackle this from young now, because right now it's children that has children, and the children that have these children, I mean, they are very young, and they didn't really pass through, some of them didn't really pass through school properly and things like that, you know. So the youngster that's coming up now, we have to tackle that earlier club with a better communication as they start school, and the parent visiting the school at intervals ever so often, whether it's once a month or whatever. You understand?
Yes.
There has to be a closer communication there, right? Now, that program he was talking about, the caller should really call and elaborate a little more on it. The one who called yesterday.
Yeah, I had to find out about it, yes.
That was years ago, that was a while ago. And you have people like, for instance, I remember Jack at that time, had encouraged in our area the people to come together and go and plant land. They was able to get permission to use a piece of land, and you cut down the bush and thing and plant trees and thing. And thank God, I mean, they still have brothers who still remain planting from them.
Yeah.
Remain making their own garden and things. You see, the behavior of our leaders on top, and like what's going on in Parliament and thing now, that is a shame. You don't have people with integrity. You don't have people from the lead, from both of the leaders, especially the last leader of the PNM, right, and this present leader of the UNC. I mean, the type of things they talk, they don't have the value in them to really display the type of integrity we had people earlier on that display them. You understand? As leaders, they always come in with some kind of nonsense and some kind of bacchanal talk, you know, a kind of anti-progressive talk, and it's just one looking at the other one. Trinidad we need people to look at Trinidad as red, white, and black, and forget this yellow and forget this red.
Agreed.
Right now, when the red calling in to bring down the yellow doing nonsense, they're bringing down their own self. Look at what we did at a year when we were encouraging people to plant. UNC went and destroyed people's crops at Easter weekend, where they're going to HEC, they're going to build houses for the people, right, in Orange Grove, on the other side of the highway. And you know what houses they build? Anytime you're going up on the highway, what opposite mastic going up? Bill waters. You understand? This is nonsense. That could never be right. You know, so we have, you see, as examples, we have to have leaders that are honest and that are setting proper examples. And then one of the biggest downfall of this country is the present leaders, the leaders that we get nowadays. You understand? You had people with so much integrity before, right? Although they did nonsense, because each one of us supposed to be a millionaire in Trinidad right now, because the trillions that have passed through Trinidad over the years. You understand? But it has to start right now. We have to try to get it very early in the homes with the parents or parents, because right now there's a lot of single parents, and a close collaboration with the teachers. And you have to follow your children, and they have to make the parents responsible. You're saying that they shouldn't charge the parents, so you mightn't get the results, but they need to start to do something like that, so that it could kind of have people thinking and have people trying to be closer with the children. Because you can't talk to, some people can't talk to the son now, they can't talk to, so don't wait for it to reach that stage. Let us try to encourage the younger parents to we need some programs, we need some assistance in the areas, and we're not seeing that. You understand? You're not getting that.
Interesting. So, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, because we have our next batch that will be coming, and we don't want them to. So we have to try to tackle the batch that's coming. Let's see how we deal with the present batch right now.
Yes. But we had to do something. Something have to be done.
But lots of good people that we could utilize who were involved in other programs and other organizations and so on. You understand that we could utilize, but who making the effort? And the country has come so
polarized, self, everybody on self.
It's selfish, everybody on their own. You understand? Everybody wants a nicer car than the neighbor, they want a bigger house than the neighbor, they do this, they do that. You understand? We just going down the wrong.
You see, we reach a stage now that everybody want to carry a gun.
True.
But again, we had to ask ourselves, what is the problem that causing us to want to carry a gun? Why we don't address that? You understand what I'm saying?
But the thing is, I get so much of research. You can't just get a gun, so you have to go on the training, they come and check in the area, they come and, it may have one or two leaders who have contact and they tell this one, listen, I'm all going to my partner, like, why Gary did get It's a problem. He didn't issue gun for the partner or license for the partner to sell guns in Tobago. You understand? Things like that. I mean, it's alleged. Let me say alleged. Problem. But you see, you don't just get a gun and you have to go and do proper training and everything. They just make you're hearing talk show, and the next thing too, the type of talk show shows that we have on the stations these days. We have to have, this should have some type of a qualification before you come to speak the kind of nonsense some of them that be speaking on the radio, because you have people listening to them. You understand? You have people listening to them, and they're ashamed to see what you're hearing. You understand? Anyway, my brother.
Thanks again for your contribution, my friend.
And we're going good so far, but we have to try to tackle it as early as possible. You understand? And it's not a government effort. It has to be an effort by the people, and Trinidad has to forget yellow and red and see ourselves as Trinidadians.
Yes.
You understand?
Agreed.
That's what we have to do. We probably need a different party, because what we see now is nothing what we were looking for. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Look at this property tax, this landlord tax. You know how much people will be suffering more now because of that? Because people who renting out a man a little 500 a month or whatever I'm paying, or a little 600 a month, a little room, just try to help with the situation. He had to go and register to pay 2,500 to register food, right? And monthly, well, you have a small amount to pay, is 2.5% every quarterly of the annual rent, or you can pay it yearly, they say. And if it's over 20,000, right, below 20, if it's over 20,000, you have to pay 3.5%. Now, if you want to go at the big figures, right, charge a higher amount, you understand, for higher categories of income from the rent. But you have people going to pay 2,500 and a man helping a man get a little ease up for a little 300 a month or 500 a month. He go and put all the man, he go tell the man, listen, I can't handle this, X, Y, and Z and things. And that man will be out of the streets. You understand?
Yes.
I wonder who does think up these things that they're introducing. You understand? Let us go over this properly and analyze what they really want to do. You understand?
Yeah.
Anyway, take care and keep up the good work.
Thanks for your contribution.
Program. We have a very good program in the morning time too. Truth and honesty. And you are going very good in the afternoon too as well. Take care and all the best.
Thank you, my friend. Blessings to you. Have a good one.
Okay then.
Yeah. So, caller, welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Well, I come to defend the youths and them, because the youths and them crying out. Me come to save them big heart back. Men and women already. I'm on the way to go.
Agreed.
But I listening politicians on the both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Them going in politicians there and clunging, and the youths and them listening, because I hear hot mic situation with the former. I take in Parliament sometime in the big day, and the man who had the business in your house telling, children listening time to time.
Hello?
I was at an incident, you hear me now?
Yeah, good.
Incident with a little guy who was going back to area school, right? He had a bust of shoes, and the children them heckling him and this and that. They take up, call the phone and take camera, and they go on nationwide. And when social development get involved, and went to the home where you was living, a lapidated home, no running water, this that thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I calling on social development and all of them, check out and do a background and see how them youth and them living, how they eating, how they drinking.
Yeah.
Because plenty of them come to school with their belly burning.
Yes.
They depend on the box lunch, they depend on the meals they get in the school.
Mm-hmm. And some of them only go to school because that's the only place they get food.
Yeah. I want to thank the Almighty Father because other man dropping East West Croydon, Duncan Street, and all them places and them. I had 2 nice beautiful daughters, a 5 and a 3
God
and
bless.
God bless me to
God bless.
to take note of the environment. Because when you come downstairs, you only hear gunshot, man, smoking weed right there. It's sad for my future children to grow up in that environment. Because there's a breakdown was so I calling on those in authority, see what we nation sharing and them. Because just now, somebody had to go. We have to be real.
Yeah.
Because nobody come to Townstone.
True.
So when the youth and them die out here, you go on a doctor, you go on a lawyer, you go on a politicians, or what? Them have to lead the battle. So let's give the youth a blind and give them a try again. Don't condemn and don't lock them up and throw away the keys and do this and other kind of thing. Go by the place and see how they're living, so they're eating and drinking. And plenty of them young children too are watching to Marcus Select. Some of them young girls go to school with long weave, lace big in the head. Like school come out style now or what? Marcus, I say not first to put me but sure and them. I love the youths and them.
Thank you, my friend. Blessings for your contribution. Thank you. Good. You know the other song, Watch Out My Children. They have a fella called Lucifer, the bag of white powder. It has changed from that now. Caller, welcome.
Hello,
welcome.
Right. So I want to continue one of the last callers left off and to congratulate you. I think last 2 callers congratulated. Very good program. But I want to make a suggestion. I called yesterday and I like how constructive you fellas you listen. Now, I've been listening to Talk Radio since the NAR opened up the airwaves way back when Morgan Joe was there and so on. And while I understand that you're on a radio station, you want callers to call in, you want listeners to the radio station. I mean, what you all are doing is excellent. I gather that you all are consultants who are hosting the show, as opposed to radio employees who are hosting a talk show. So you all understand organizational structures and organizational development and strategic planning, and I guess you all understand change management as well. Is it possible for us, because on all these talk shows, on your station and all the other stations, all that is happening is serving as a venting point where, like a rum shop, we come and we talk and nothing happens. Now, is it possible, and I'm just asking the question because I know it's a responsibility, to take a consultant approach and see if you all could go forward. Now, I know sometimes talk shows, so I know to listen, but if the politicians listen or the people in government listen, they listen for that to see if you're breaking the law, and they listen to see if you're supporting the government or you're supporting it. I don't think they're listening with a view to the good suggestions that you all have, the very constructive things coming through, and to translating the talk into solution. Now, there's a cry for solution. You yourself said just now, we need to take action, or somebody said that. So I am amazed at the quality of calls coming through from ordinary citizens. Some of them are better than what is coming forward from the politicians. But it is lost. There's no way for it. You're laughing, but it's true. I mean, what we all are doing, I would hazard a guess. I don't know, but I would hazard a guess what you all are doing is more constructive than what takes place in cabinet. Now, I know they're concerned about the country and so on, but they're concerned because they want to stay in power and so on. But as the fellow saying, forget the mustard and the ketchup and so on. Let us really get down to try to solve the problem. And he mentioned a third party, that might be a problem, but a third force, a different approach. And maybe you all need to take the initiative and to consider among yourselves, how can we take these very valuable contributions that are coming evening after evening on the radio and somehow get it to those that are in power, and move the thing along, just like you would in an organization, do a diagnosis, and then move it to solution creation and so on, and implementation. So thank you very much. Good problem, because I hear what you're saying. I heard the discussion on crime, and I totally agree with you.
Blessings to you.
Because the situation has gone beyond the police service. And you could try what you want to create the police service. The police service, 7,000 what? Can't police 1.7 people. And so I want to leave this. I'd forgotten the other day when I called. But it was Emile Durkheim. I think he was a French 18th century philosopher. And he had a saying that when mores are sufficient, mores mean customs and behaviors and so on, are sufficient, laws are unnecessary. But when mores, customs, behavior, habits, and so on are insufficient, laws are unenforceable. Now, our politicians, our parliament, as you know, are dominated by lawyers, and therefore they believe that passing more laws is a benchmark, is a measure of their performance. But I think we have 60-something years of making laws which are not implemented, they're not effective. So how much laws you pass in parliament and saying we do this law, this was our agenda. Not solving the problems of the country. So we need to change the way we do government if we want to solve the problem. And I agree with you. Right now, there are children who are going to grow up and they are going to become hardened criminals in the next 5 years, in the next 7 years, in the next few years. So if we think we're catching those now, we're shooting them, or we're killing them, or whatever, we're locking them up, or we're jailing them, it have more to come. If we don't begin to deal with it, and there is a solution. We're going to talk more, but there is a solution. Because this thing cannot be dealt with one telephone call on one. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Take care. Blessings. Good. Collate on making laws every day to solve problems. Because, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Michelle, and to your listeners. You know, the more you listen and observe, you would realize that that cadet program is not only needed in schools but in parliament also.
Caller, you catch you off guard there, man. You catch you off guard there. Good one. You catch you off guard. As we looked at the challenge that we have in terms of transforming behavior, there's endless research on things that we can do. There are too many success curves that exist in terms of templates by different cultures that we can copy. We have to remember, if we don't fix it today, we have to live with it tomorrow to a large extent, and we may not like what we have to live with tomorrow. We keep trying to find ways to curb problems in this society, but not look at what causing the problem. And if we address cause, we not have to look down the road at curbing anything if we prevent. We winding down. We have a few minutes to go again. And I want to juxtapose into something I would like to discuss. Hopefully tomorrow, once I could reach down by 4 tomorrow, for you, the audience, for you, the pavilion, to lend me an ear. You know, we talk about the state of emergency that we're in, and we talk about crime, and we talk about solution and the prevalence of home invasion. I saw this a few days on the news with people running in, people who in Cunopia, in Londonville, and so forth. And again, as I said earlier in my discourse there, police react after something happened. And we have to get into a mode of one, preventative solution. How do we prevent? Or how do we deter people or individuals from believing that a part of, let's use the word crime, is one to be considered. It is prevalent because the deterrent is not in place in the first instance. What I mean by that? I did a talk once on crime and technology, using technology in terms of assisting and enabling solving crime. I know last Commissioner Gary Griffith was focused on that, and hats off to him, he was on the right track. And I said this, generally, if you could start a business that have a 90% success, would you start such a business? And yeah, of course, 90% success, 10% possibility of failure. Yes, everybody say yes. I say, well, that is crime. If you in the criminal industry, call it an industry because it has white collar crime, it all kind of crimes is an industry, believe your ability to succeed in your criminal ventures will bring about a 90% success in you getting away and only 10% in detection, then we're saying that, well, criminality is profitable and prosperous. We are not managing by systems. We are not managing by process. It's not only police organization. We're managing in a more reactive environment. I see that, I talk about the police service here now. We had the issue with the municipal corporation, firearm situation and so forth. And you know what we did? We blame everybody. We blame the female officer. We blame the officer who stole the gun. We blame the bad man in the area who get the gun, and we blame everybody. Nobody took the time to say, whose responsibility is it to ensure that the system for managing the armory is correct? Whose responsibility is this to ensure that there's a proper audit of the armory? I just dealing with one, is in place. It's not the man in Bongo Bongo land or Jungo Jungo land here, you know. There is senior people responsible at all levels to ensure that the systems are in place for proper control and security of an environment as a bunker with firearm and ammunition. There are protocols, or should be protocols, in place that are audited. And there's somebody responsible for that. And I want to delve into the whole operation of that, because we send home 2 fellas and we jail 2 people, but it's a bigger problem of mismanagement at a high level. And people just skate it off and say, well, we lock up here and we send one man and so forth. But watch now. The number of wrongs in terms of management that took place with that, we now start to clean the deck in terms of incompetence. When it comes to that situation, high level of incompetence. Procedure, system, audit, security, risk management. There's somebody responsible to ensure that all those things are in place. But you know the interesting thing? The legal custodian of every firearm and ammunition in Trinidad is the Commissioner of Police. Because no one could get a firearm or get ammunition without the Commissioner of Police signing off. I'm not casting any aspersion to this. I'm talking about the structure. So at the end of the day, where firearm and ammunitions are concerned in Trinidad and Tobago, legal that is, it is the responsibility of the Commissioner of Police to ensure the systems, the methodology, the processes, the audit are in place for these things. The buck stop by the Commissioner of Police where these things are concerned. Yeah? So when we look at when these things happen, I ask the person in charge of firearm and ammunition that the law give the responsibility to. Have you ensured that the systems are in place for the proper housing, keeping, auditing, and management of these things? I leave that this evening because tomorrow, health and strength, God willing, I want to continue as we wind down. I thank all the callers for contributing today. I thank the management and staff of 91.9 The Street for allowing this contribution to be aired. And I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow, please God. Have a good one. Bye.
Tune in to the Street 919 FM for Gospel in the Bone Ministry every Sunday from 7:05 a.m. to 8:55 a.m. for the program God's Last Warning Message. Hosea chapter 4 says, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because